Hi everyone. The discussion for today is about the carbon cycle and how any alterations to this biogeochemical process affects all aspects of life. To begin, how does the carbon cycle work? Well, the carbon cycle is a biogeochemical cycle where the process of carbon atoms flow in the atmosphere to the Earth. It is illustrated in the picture that carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is being absorbed by trees and plants through photosynthesis. The picture also elaborates how dead organisms and waste product decay form fossil fuels. This process also includes respiration and combustion. Now, what happens if the carbon cycle is disrupted? If there would be an interruption in the carbon cycle, life on Earth will be threatened, especially because climate change is worsening as years pass by. The factors at risk could include biodiversity, food security, human health, and water quality. For biodiversity, the rise in carbon concentrations in the atmosphere increases the global temperature, which results to the warming of oceans, melting of ice caps, and prolonged droughts. Consequently, the dissolved carbon in oceans results to carbonic acid, which increases the acidity of the waters of the world and causes detrimental damages to the marine ecosystem, from the dissolution of carbonate shells to the decrease in phytoplankton population. For land, on the other hand, the increase in carbon allows more growth for the plant population as long as other necessities for their growth are kept at a stable availability. But this is not always the case, because trends show the decline in biodiversity instead. Warmer temperatures stress out plants, making them need more water for their survival. With a water shortage present worldwide, forests are greatly susceptible to drying and thus leading to burning. The warming may also accelerate the rate at which carbon seeps out in some places in soil. Frozen soil in the far north are seen to be thawing, which will cause an even greater amount of methane and carbon dioxide to rise to the atmosphere. The changing of the climate, caused by the changes in the carbon concentrations that are being cycled, affects all biodiversity on this planet.
Now we will move on to food security. As carbon dioxide deposits in the atmosphere rise, climate change worsens and the threat to global food security dangerously becomes more imminent. According to the International Food Policy Research Institute, this will have significant yet uncertain impacts on food security. Over time, rising temperatures cause ice to melt worldwide, which contributes to rising sea level and migration of animal species due to habitat destruction. This disruption in the normal flow of the ecosystem largely affects all that is included in the food chain. Moreover, some species that thrive on hotter environments grow more in population and are destroying forested acres, which are essential to securing food supply. Temperature changes also yield unstable precipitation on average. Some regions are experiencing more, while some are undergoing severe droughts, increasing the risk of drinking water shortages, lost crops, and wildfires. Not to mention that because of the abnormal flow of carbon in the ecosystem, the components of food may be altered, therefore rendering it not safe for consumption. These tend to cause a fluctuation and danger in food security and safety, and might soon result to a paucity in food supply and drinking water if not addressed immediately.
An excess amount of carbon dioxide doesn't end with its effects on our surroundings. It bleeds down to individuals on the ground, causing detriments to human life. High levels are directly correlated to lower productivity and higher sick leave, making this a crucial concern in offices, schools, and home environments. Other physical side effects include increased carbon triggers a variety of reactions, including chest pains, coughing, throat illnesses, congestions, and amplifying allergenicity of pollen and mold spores, which are manifested due to an aeroallergen distribution. It also affects psychosocial and psychological health when the heat cuts human basic decision making ability indoors by 25% and complex strategic thinking by 50%. Those in lower socioeconomic statuses who rely on their environments for sustenance are affected when water dries up. They are forced to drink contaminated water supplies and also greatly affects livestock supply, causing us to lose food security, especially on plant based foods, which may exhibit nutrient deficiencies and elevated carbon levels, which directly affect human health. On a larger scale, developing nations will experience a heavy financial burden in order to combat the effects on important industries like agriculture, which negatively affects affordability of food and the subsequent health of the population. It also affects those who live near coastal areas. Due to increased carbon, human finds it harder to rely on oceans for food, employment, recreation, weather patterns, and transportation.
Carbon dioxide and water quality. Carbon dioxide is found in water as a dissolved gas. It It can dissolve in water 200 times more easily than oxygen. Aquatic plants depend on carbon dioxide for life and growth, just as fish depend on oxygen. Plants use dioxide during the process of photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide from the burning of fossil fuels accumulates in the atmosphere where it causes global warming, but it also affects our oceans. As carbon dioxide enters the ocean, it reacts with seawater to form carbonic acid. Changes in ocean acidity are undeniably linked to human activities. As atmospheric carbon dioxide level rises due to anthropogenic causes, dissolved carbon dioxide rises as well, lowering the pH of water. When the water becomes saturated with CO2, it not only lowers the pH of the ocean but also depletes calcium carbonate sources, thus affecting marine organisms. Climate change makes the ocean warmer. This causes the ocean's ability to slow down in taking carbon from the atmosphere. Increased water temperatures will cause eutrophication and excess algal growth in many areas, lowering drinking water quality. Increased sediment or nutrients inputs from extreme storms may also jeopardize the quality of drinking water sources.
As a student and as a youth, we can do a lot of things to alleviate the problems caused by climate change and the disruption of the carbon cycle. Using the media platforms that are very relevant these days, we can spread awareness about the causes and risks of carbon cycle disruption. Making use of social media like Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter as a tool to educate other people about the susceptibility of the quality of life, water, biodiversity, and the food that we consume to climate change will make it easier for us to enlighten the people around us about how vulnerable will life on Earth be if we continue the activities that causes this disruption. Joining environmental protests would also help us in addressing and preventing environmental problems. Advocating on things like this will help us encourage more people to start planting trees and stop the actions that are detrimental to our environment. Lastly, conducting studies that will help reduce the risk could also alleviate the problems that we are facing. The young ones like us has a huge role in addressing environmental problems. If the people who came before us damaged our environment because of excessive industrialization and urbanization, it is our responsibility to spread awareness and find solutions to lessen the risk of global warming that we currently facing. That would be all. This is the Pat's Angels. Thank you for listening.